Hello class, Professor Quigley here, and I know that we have spent the last several days talking about for loops compared to while loops in the week 5 discussion. However, now that you have spent a few days discussing it, you have a better understanding of what it even is. Therefore, I feel like you could watch this video and pick up some advanced tips and tricks that is really going to help you in your first job interview when you try to work into the field. Also, I've noticed that many of you are reading on the internet that a for loop cannot be used if you don't know the exact number of iterations. I guess that's kind of a true generic difference. However, that's not necessarily true. Let me show you how you can actually use a for loop if you have no idea how many iterations it's going to take. All right, well, let's take a look here at the for loop that we started with early in the week. And if you remember, we had a loop where we said I is going to have a start-in value of 0. This is where we initialize our loop. Then our condition is we're going to loop as long as the value of I is less than 50 million. And then each time we loop, we're going to add 1 to the value of I. So when we ran this program earlier in the week, we said, wow, that's pretty cool. The computer can do this forever and ever and ever. Many of you asked if the program would crash, and I'm going to move this over here. And if you look over here in the background, you'll see this is the amount of RAM that it's taken up on my computer. So this operation really isn't that expensive. C# here, it's kind enough to do memory management for us. So, excuse me. So the program actually won't crash, but it is going to take forever. So I want to introduce my first tip for you, or first little trick for you. You don't always have to count by 1. Now, you might be learning this stuff, and all of the early examples that are given to you to help teach you show you that you could say I equals I plus 1. But what if we wanted to do this faster? What if we wanted to count by 1,000? So when I run this application, now I can see it is counting a lot faster. I could count to 50 million if I'm counting by 1,000 every time. Now, keep in mind, it's going to be a little slower for us doing it. A computer can do this a heck of a lot faster than we can. However, it is worth noting that, like, that's pretty impressive. Um, so even though we counted by 1,000 and it took a long time, it still was faster than if we were to do it by hand. But did we know that we can count backwards? So check this out. If I said I equals I minus 1, and I run this application, now I can see how the program is actually counting down. So that's actually pretty cool. You don't always have to count up. Another thing too is you don't always have to do a plus or a minus here. You could say I want this to equal I times 100. And let's give this a start-in value of 1 here because you can't really do 100 times 0. It's always going to equal 0. So we'll do int has a start-in value of 1 long as 1 is less than 50 million. And then we'll do I equals I times 100 every time it loops. So now when I run this application, you can see this doesn't take that long at all because I love to program 1. 1 times 100 is 100. 100 times 100 is 10,000. 10,000 times 100 is let's see, 1, 2, 3 is 1 million. Then if I did 1 million times 100, the answer would be greater than 50 million, so that actually broke the condition and didn't actually work. Some of you have made mention that a for loop is kind of like a do-while loop where it'll always run. Not necessarily. If I were to take this and say, as long as I is less than 50, and I'm going to say I has a start-in value of 51, and I'm going to set this back to I equals I plus 1. Not that it matters because this is never going to run. So int I equals 51, as long as I is less than 50, we're going to run. So if I run this application, it actually didn't do nothing because that condition was never true and it never ran. Also, there was some people that said a for loop is going to go for a fixed number of time and that it really can't go forever. That's not really true either. So if I were to say I equals 51, and then if I said as long as I is, let's see, how do I want to do this? Let's say as long as I is greater than 50, So I already know it's going to be greater than 50. But you know what? Let's make it here. So I has a starting value of 50. As long as I is greater than 50, we're going to do I equals I plus 1. So think about that for a second here. If it starts at 50, and every time it runs we're going to add 1 to it, it's always going to be greater than 50. So if I run this, oops, never ran. Why was that? I equals 50. I is greater than 50. Let me find out. I'm going to drop a breakpoint. I'm going to hit run. So I is equal to 50. Oh, so I was never greater than 50. Ah! Silly me. So we're going to say if I is greater than or equal to 50. Boom. I'll remove this breakpoint here. So, and I hit continue. Now this is going to go on and on forever. This will go past 50 million. This will go to 100 million. That's actually a good point. I wonder how long this will actually go. But it's going to go forever. So let's go ahead and cancel that out. Now, I want to show you something really cool. And let's challenge this idea that you never really know when, or that a for loop, you can't use it if you don't know the unknown number of iterations. So let's delete this here. And let's actually do int. We'll do start and balance. Bear with me. Then we're going to say int desired balance. Then we're going to say int monthly contributions. Now, I am going to do console.writeLine, and I'm going to write onto the screen, what is your savings account balance? And then what I'm going to say is start and balance is going to equal what they type on the screen here, because what they can type onto the screen is actually keyboard characters. It comes in as a data type as a string, so we need to actually convert it to an int. But console, sorry, I can't talk and type at the same time. Console.readline. Okay, so now what I'm saying is I'm going to write to the screen. In Zybooks, this would be put to output, and then you would actually, this is what you would put to output, and then you would say start and balance equals get next input. Just remember I'm doing this in C#. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this, and now I'm going to paste it over here, but this time I'm going to say console.writeLine, what is, oops, spelling error, what is your savings account balance, and then I'm going to say what is your desired savings account balance, and then this right here, so this desired balance will be what they type in for that question. Then I'm going to take this again, and I'm going to say what is your monthly contributions. Then I'm going to say monthly contributions equals this. So monthly contributions. Now, technically, I don't know what the value of these variables are going to be. So when this loop runs, I don't really know how many times it's going to iterate. So I'm going to say for, and then this is where I'm going to say for I, for int I equals, we'll say start and balance. Oops, I can't do int 1. I gotta do for int I equals start and balance. And then I'm gonna say as long as I is less than desired, desired balance. And then I'm gonna say, oops, why is that not picking that up? Control C. So as long as I is less than desired balance, and then I'm gonna say I equals I plus monthly contributions. Okay, hopefully you can see. Let me get my fat head out of the way. All right, scroll that up here. So basically, it's the same thing as I had before, except for I'm going to say I is going to equal my starting balance. And as long as I is less than my desired balance, I'm going to keep looping. And every time I loop, I'm going to say I equals whatever my desired or whatever my balance is plus whatever I'm adding for that month. So here I'm going to say console.writeLine. This is going to be your savings account balance is, we'll do plus, and this will be the value of I. Oops, why do I keep typing 1? All right, so if I were to run this, it's going to ask me some questions that I as a developer don't actually know. So what is your savings account balance? Let's just say I have $100 in there. I'm going to click enter. What is your desired savings account balance? Well, I kind of want 50 million, but let's just say 10,000. Now, what is your monthly contributions? Let's see. I'm going to say that I'm able to save $50 per month. So I'm going to click enter. Boom. I just executed a for loop, and I really didn't know how many iterations that it was going to take. So I can scroll up here, and I could say, well, your savings account started at 100. You added 50. So every time it's still looping until you get to your desired amount there. Now, to make this a little easier to read, after that for loop is finished, let's go ahead and say integer, let's say number of months equals, and we'll do, how does this work? We'll do, man, I should have figured this out before I started recording the video. So we'll say desired balance minus starting balance divided by monthly contributions. So now we can say console.writeLine, oops, and we're going to say it would take you we'll say number of months to reach plus desired balance. Okay, you follow me? So I'm kind of stringing together a couple little operations here to make our program a little more smooth. So at the very end of our for loop, because remember our for loop is going to output exactly what our balance is going to be at the end of each month, but I want to make this a little better, and I want to say, hey, yeah, give me what my balance is going to be after each month, but then why don't you just do some quick math real quick to determine how many months that it would have taken, and then let's actually write that to the screen. So now I'm going to click play up here, which is going to run my application. So it's going to ask me, what is your savings account balance? I am going to say it is, actually let's do something different this time, because remember I told you I don't know how many times it's going to run. So let's say I don't have a savings account balance and it is 0. What is your desired savings account balance? Let's go with $5,000. That's reasonable, right? If you can put $5,000 back in savings account, you will be so blessed because you won't be living paycheck to paycheck, and you'll have that peace of mind. All right, so let's say 5,000. What is your monthly contributions? Let's just say I'm going to be able to put $100 aside a month. That shouldn't be too hard. All right, so now I get a line. So it says my starting balance was 0, 100, 200, 3. You see how it keeps counting? Real easy stuff here. I might need to work on my language here, but it would take you 50, I should have wrote months to reach $5,000. So if I were to do that, I can do that. It would take you blank months to reach 5,000 plus dollars. Put a period there at the end of my sentence. All right, so now let's run this again a third time, but let's use some different values. I'm going to say, what is your account balance? I'm going to say my account balance is $245. My desired account balance is $200,000. And I am going to contribute $1,000 per month. It would take me but the computer's speaking to me. It would take you 199 months to reach $200,000. And there's my for loop. It gives me that value. Now, how cool would it be if I took this a little farther? I could take that 199. I could say if the number of months is greater than 24, I could then say 199 divided by 12, and that'll give me a year. So I can do some if statements there. But anyways, I know this video was long, but for those of you who really appreciate the technical deep dive into some of these topics, there you go. I'd love to get your feedback. If you feel like these videos were useful, let me know. If you feel like they were a complete waste of your time, let me know. I promise you I won't be offended. And just like we get these course surveys, don't feel bad. Fill them out honestly. If you loved everything about this class, fill them out. If you hated everything about this class, fill it out. That's the only way we're going to be able to make a difference in the future class and ensure that all your other classes are better than this one. But let me know. See you in discussion threads. Hope this helped. Take care.